Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Cloud Foundry Weekly live from VMware Explore Barcelona. This is a Wednesday, so it's not Happy Thursday, but we'll do Happy Wednesday. Nikki could not make the journey over to Barcelona. He's actually on vacation this week. So I brought in some special friends from Tanzu to kind of share our thoughts and kind of discuss the show. So we have Michael Cote on the show and Keith Lee. Keith, this is maybe your first time officially on the show, but you've been in chat for quite many episodes, and then Cote, you've co-hosted some shows as well with me. So welcome, and we just kind of wanted to give our quick thoughts of the rundown. The third day is kind of trailing to the end. There's been a lot of sessions. I'm officially done with all my sessions, so I'm kind of relieved there. Cote, what was your kind of favorite thing from the show so far?
Well, this isn't always the case, but I think the keynote was pretty nice. The big keynote, because what is this? This is November of 2024. And I think for about a year or so, there's been this kind of shift in VMware and Broadcom and Tanzu to like private cloud. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I mean by that tone.
Yeah, it's okay.
But just like a much bigger focus on that, and I think that hasn't always been the case with what that VMware and Tanzu and stuff have done. It's been a lot more multi-cloud and whatever you might, et cetera and so forth, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And so it's been interesting to, as a long-time cloud observer, so to speak, it's been interesting to see like how that kind of comes together. And I think, I think all of us in Tanzu land, there were a few slides that came up and we all like took pictures of it because you're like, oh look, there we are. And so like it was fun to see how you can having been an analyst, I maybe spend way too much time thinking about slides. I always imagine like the meetings people went through, the revisions, and like, at some point slides are strategy, right? And vice versa. That's not always good, but sometimes it happens. And so like, it's worth like staring at those slides and pondering them and be like, oh, this is the idea of private cloud to the VCF Tanzu area and kind of where the parts fit together and things like that.
Yeah. Well, definitely coming from more of an engineering background, I definitely have respect for the professional slide editors and makers, because making very clean, good-looking slides is definitely, I think, something people take for granted. So anybody who has the ability to do that, I greatly appreciate it.
So, and then also it's also good to have, as they say, a talk track.
Yes.
So that's always a good
to accompany the slides.
Yeah. And so that's nice. And then also, and then I'll be done. I was lucky to get, how did I get into this? I was sort of dragged along, not unwillingly, to on Sunday night there was a I don't even remember the name. It was like the VMware community leadership thing. Oh, nice. So all this is not my world, but apparently all the famous rock star-y people from vMugs and VMware and stuff like that, which I'm an application developer, so I don't know what's going on there. They look like operations people to me, but. It was fun to talk with them, and as the night went on and more things were drank to get their perspective on things, and then also our CEO came and talked a little bit, and you've seen him talk. He's very plain spoken, and I think he had a good. What I thought was really interesting there is he essentially was talking to the leadership, the famous of the famous of like the VMware user community. And I think he laid out pretty well, like this is not the way he said it, but my interpretation of what was happening was the people who use this software are kind of the most important, right? Because they use it day to day, and that's why I'm here, right? And then he hung out and talked with people and even indulged them with some selfies here and there, which was, I've worked in several tech companies, and it's not like I know executives, but I've seen them from afar across the room, and like his it's very like accessible and normal,
right? Yeah.
which I think is good. There's kind of that, and you can also feel that kind of focus of like let's focus on, to use the word, community and practitioners and just like doing the work, sort of stuff, which is, I don't know, that was interesting.
Yeah. Keith, what about you? What are some highlights for you so far with the show?
Yeah, so I've done many VM Explorers or VM Worlds, and this is my first one where I haven't got to see any sessions. It's that busy.
Right.
There's a lot of people excited about what have and are even announced as well. So there's a lot of excitement. I did see one session, so a shout out to our friend Sean and Aaron joining Pranima. That's a session that has to be seen. It's a superb way of telling our story. But yeah, a lot of breakout sessions. And my area where I've been talking to is more, because of my background, more of a virtual infrastructure background, is talking the story of bringing them together, the better together story. And there's no right or wrong solution. We have a solution for everyone. It's not this or this. We have options, and the feedback has been superb. Like it's people are nodding, like you're doing something right when everyone nods and look at each other. Or like as our friend Darren said, we were doing a session and we had a big kind of build out, and the cameras went up and took another one. And then we built out a bit further, and then we went to the final one. It was like a roller coaster. All the hands went up like a roller coaster, taking the final picture of, and people going, "Okay, now I get what you're doing. It now makes sense."
Yeah.
Cool.
No, that makes sense. And over the past few years, Tanzu has been many wonderful things, like here, there, and whatnot. And I think, personally, I hope this is the case. But my feel is that it's finally compressed down to this, right? And so, I think adding to what you're saying, right? That's what'll be fun over the next year, is to make sure we kind of get that out there and have a clear understanding of what's in the Tanzu area, or advanced services, or how it all fits together. Which I guess is why I like the clarity of those kind of slides, because they're very. I almost prefer slides that have too much on them, because there's no maybe ironically or whatever, counterintuitively enough, the more you have on the slide, the less ambiguity there is, right? Like when you make something clear and concise, it leaves wiggle room to like wonder what's in there. So it was good from that respect. And then I went to several sessions. I always like to go to a session that I have no idea what they're being talked about, what's being talked about, and so I couldn't tell you what was in it.
Just about to ask you, what one did you go to?
Yeah, I don't know. It was some kind of what was it? It was, I don't even remember. Some virtualization.
You're
thing.
really selling it to us.
I have no idea. I think a lot of the popular talks here, like when I used to go to Java 1 talks, the popular talks are like when things break. Right? And just like when something breaks, how to deal with it, right? And so like I think I was in one of those talks. It didn't sound like things were going well with the narrative. And then I moderated a panel on with some of our friends from Mercedes-Benz, and then Adib, who you've had on this a few times, talking about how they're thinking through like doing AI from a platform engineering perspective, like. They were using your beloved AI tile.
And I worked a lot with them in the past year.
And so it was fun to. My type of questions are less about how to fix things when they blow up, and more like, so how do you organize that and figure out what to do, and what does it mean to like add AI to a platform. And so that was fun. And then I attended a session that I got involved with, but then lucky enough, I got Deshaun to actually be up on stage instead of me, which I think turned out great, where some of our friends from NatWest were talking about the way they're thinking about contracts and platform contracts. And so, I don't know, I like it when people who actually do this stuff talk a lot, and other people who know what they're talking about.
Yeah, so that was like a lot of my sessions were more, I did a few businessy, but a lot of my sessions were going into the weeds, technical, meet the experts.
Mhm.
But one I just literally ran here from was more career progression. And
Yeah.
like no tech, no product positioning, just how like my career journey and Darren's career journey of like we were rack and stacking servers, pulling cables, and just how we went further up the stack and how we are here now and what we learned along the way, what to do, what not to do.
Sure.
Because platform engineering is a hot topic,
Mhm.
and it's not like it's new. It's just a new name of a way of organizing your
Yeah.
teams and doing stuff. So we're just going. People are going, oh, how do I get into this? And you probably are already doing it already.
Yeah.
It's how you identify it.
Yeah, I mean that's something interesting to hear you two's take on, you two's, and then also like the Cloud Foundry world, right?
Yeah.
It's like I've had, I don't know, several, maybe one or three, but I've talked with several people, and the impression I get from what they say is that in all of these words sound pejorative, but in normal situations, in the mainstream, there's just now like a higher clamoring for like cloud native things, right?
Mhm.
Like for more and more, like, which is always confusing for us because we're so close to this. We've talked about cloud native forever, and then every year Kubernetes is a big deal, but then it seems like it's actually a big deal now in enterprises, in large organizations. And so I think that's the other thing that I think is interesting for the Cloud Foundry community to think on
Mhm.
is like, so if you were as a Cloud Foundry person who's been doing this for a while, come to the VM world, like the VMware, the Explore world. It's almost like there's this whole set of people who want to start doing what you've been doing for a long time, and you've never met each other. And so there's a good like opportunity to discuss with each other. I think Cloud Foundry people probably know how to talk to infrastructure people, right? They're not
Yeah.
completely foreign.
No, I mean, and most like Cloud Foundry platform engineers have probably a pretty deep understanding of the underlying infrastructure because they have to interface with that. Some of those teams may actually may also help manage and curate the actual virtual infrastructure as well, or maybe a separate team where they work hand in hand. So that's definitely
I think there's like a rising interest in like we actually want to do like cloud native apps, right? Just like over here in this like 15% would be high, but like this percentage of our business.
Well, I think too generally like this concept of PaaS is like cool again as well, right? So it's like we do PaaS for a while, but I think a lot of people have tried just like vanilla Kubernetes and things like that, but then like this concept of just give me something that makes it simple, right? And then as you see within Tanzu platform, we have multiple runtimes that help achieve that simplicity, right? Where like focus on the developer experience, don't get too down in the weeds of trying to deal with infrastructure, so to speak. I think that's
it's what we're calling the separation of concerns.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a lot of my discussions this week. Is there's many ways to do it, and a lot of people have been successful doing it DIY, let's say, but they're getting to a point where we don't think we can scale now. We've built something, it works well, but we're at the point now we have more acquisitions happening, we're taking on more modernization of apps. We don't know, can we scale? And we're at a point, do we need something else in here? And product is only one thing. I think people is a bigger thing. Product is easy. People are not. This not the knowledge domain that comes in building these custom platforms is a big thing to consider. What happens if that talent leaves? Where are you then? So a lot of discussions on even not just our VMware's technologies, a lot of discussions on people. Is a big part of the discussions as well.
That's interesting. We should have had a booth stand that just has a little homunculus, a little person to demo. Like maybe some Playmobil figures that you can move around as a demo of different teams. And now these two people work together. Well, like with your background, like hearing you talk and thinking through like what I was saying about these two communities talking more together, like something that's come up a couple times is like, I don't know what I'm saying here, but this is my idea of a comical play is like, you've got your like VMware storage admin over here. And then you've got like your cloud native people over here. And the storage guy is like, hey, maybe you should have like really hardcore storage stuff. And like, we should work on that like a lot more tightly together. Whereas I think like I was imagining, like, what if you took this crowd and took them to like KubeCon? Like, what would that look like? Like, because I don't get the sense that these two communities get together that much, right? Whereas like, and the Kubernetes stuff is is a very real, in a real way, even kind of above the layer of this VMware world, right? And then so finally to close out, right? Like I was joking with someone about it. Like I think this is why what you were saying is making me think of this is like everyone. Naive is a judgmental word, but when you first learn about the 12-factor thing, it's easy to say like, well, it says no storage, and then just go home. But like really, what the 12-factor thing is saying is, from a developer standpoint, this is what you should do, and we assume that you're managing the storage, right? Like we assume all this other stuff that's happening, and it seems like that kind of conversation doesn't really happen in the cloud native world so much. So there's a lot of conversation about like, we figured out how to do it, right? Versus just like, oh yeah, we just, talk to the vSAN person.
It's a lot of those breaking down those barriers. There's some real hard clashes going on. Like going back many years of when I was more VI admin, someone serving out infrastructure and someone asked, I want 24 vCPUs and 96 gig of memory. What are you doing with that? There's like a Jedi waving an arm. Don't ask any more questions. But like, it's those conversations that need to happen because maybe you can apply infrastructure practices to what they're trying to achieve. And like it's a two-way street. It's not like, no, you don't do that. No soup for you. It's just, it's a two-way conversation where it's a pairing. It's literally back to pairing. You learn both ways of how to do this better.
Right. So I think some of the platform engineering teams kind of come in and kind of maybe even fill the gap where they understand both sides of the street, both sides of the coin, or whatever you would say it, and they're able to help. Whether you have separate teams or dedicated teams for it, they're able to they understand all the infrastructure, and then they understand enough of the developer side to interact with both sides. It's like I've been, I used to be a platform engineer for quite some time, but we've interacted with some of our best developers, and it's then you kind of figure out they don't know quite how networking really works. There's some common how does this IP address scheme work? Or that's not it at all. But you're a super senior developer writing tons of code. Maybe that was that's a key point of information that all infrastructure people know, that type of thing, right? So it's just simple things like that kind of maybe get lost in the different kind of roles when where platform engineering can really help because you know enough about both sides to kind of glue everything together, so to speak. At least that's what I
It's like a giant lunch and learn.
Right. Yeah. But and even too, I think successful platform teams hold office hours or lunch and learns to kind of get their community up to speed. All right. Let's see. Do we want to talk about Tanzu Platform 10? I think we had a blog post that went live. So we're announcing that Tanzu Platform 10 is going to GA November 27th. Yep. I think, right? Yeah. So I was I'm pretty sure that's all accurate. But so I know part of that includes Tanzu Platform 10 for Cloud Foundry. So our core Cloud Foundry runtime release, and I'm excited about that. Yeah. But I know there was some Tanzu Data Services announcement as well. So maybe you
so
share a little about that.
Tanzu Data Services has been announced. It's part of Tanzu Platform, and also it can be got separately for on top of VCF. So I'm going to throw a load of acronyms out here. So VCF, just for everyone, VMware Cloud Foundation. There's a tool within VMware Cloud Foundation that's called DSM, Data Services Manager. So it's a tool that can offer out data services and the lifecycle of them. And this announcement is bringing the Tanzu Data Services to that. So that's Postgres, Tanzu MySQL, Valkey, and RabbitMQ. And what we are offering here is enterprise support on it. So you get 24/7 support on it. So it's another way of consuming it. Part of Tanzu Platform, but also separately. Because where there's app, there's data. We all know that. And if it's mission critical, you need, enterprise support on that. So now offering this to in these two form factors, as Tanzu platform and to data service manager for, depending, as we said at the start, everyone is different along their journey. They might just want a container as a service and some data services. They have the rest themselves, and this is just giving them that enterprise support on those data services.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that
Yeah.
because I think the Tanzu data services have been something we've had for a while, but like that's going to really open that up to, I think, more of the overall like VCF base, so to speak. Because I don't know if like the full database as a service and messaging as a service, like we've solved a lot of that within the the Tanzu platform and Cloud Foundry space with like the marketplace contract, the service binding construct pretty well. But there's still a lot of people I think still are going this manual toil of ticketing based system of like I need a database server, I need a message bus, and things like DSM, and then having the support routines. It could be, I think, very beneficial.
And it's a good we're seeing the results of this better together. The Broadcom is a big company, many business units, and it's showing like the VCF view and Tanzu view coming together and really making this what we're trying to build, not just a private cloud, this complete private cloud. Like, so you're on parity or even better than a public cloud. And one of those things is data services. So it's really the coming together of these, what we're offering.
And I guess from the Cloud Foundry perspective, like what I always like about these events is I get to meet and interact with customers I've been working with from the Cloud Foundry side for like, in the case of Mercedes for like the past year, but it's always nice to meet and see them. I'm not going to name all the names because I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but it's great to be in the community, and just kind of feels like to me an extension of Cloud Foundry Day in Germany just a few weeks ago, because we met a lot of faces there, and some of them came here too as well. So just continuing the Cloud Foundry community and seeing what they're up to, and kind of seeing too where we're launching the Tanzu Platform Hub with a multi-foundation observability. So I was able to do a demo in one of my sessions of that. We have multiple foundations registered. You can see the kind of health watch style views, but then even talking about some of the new what we're talking about, multi-foundation app management. The application space is like this new construct that Cloud Foundry has had for quite some time. We're kind of bringing that forward to the Kubernetes landscape and having like a unified control plane, I guess is one of the terms behind that technology that's going on there. So it's good to see that. I think I was in a customer session this morning, and we're kind of explaining that message. I think that resonated pretty well.
You can clearly see, like, we've been doing Cloud Foundry. I've been doing about 10 years, but Cloud Foundry is at 13 years?
12 or 13? Yeah.
But like, it's not very sure. It's so mature, and the lessons learned along the way, and how Kubernetes is 8 years, I would say, but like it's not as mature. It's getting a lot more mature now. But what we're doing with Tanzu platform is bring the best of both. It's not like everything amazing from Cloud Foundry and giving that experience in Kubernetes. It's a two-way street. Even again, and with Tanzu platform, you don't have to choose. You get it all. So again, a lot of the conversations are with our customers and partners here as well, is there's no one box that does it all for them. Some are running Cloud Foundry, some want Kubernetes with that. Everyone is different, but we can address their needs, I think, is what's really resonating now. They're saying, okay, we can do a lot with you now.
I guess one other thing I like too, so I did a lot, obviously, presentations about the Gen AI and Tanzu platform tile, which should also GA on November 27th. But as I do these sessions, there's always people who have never seen Cloud Foundry before, or people who maybe are TKGI customers, and they're like, "Hey, like, can I use that too?" I'm like, well, sure, you can. Like, and so I had a conversation earlier with a TKGI customer who was curious about it. And it's like, well, you already have Ops Manager in TKGI. You could start with a small runtime for Tanzu Application Servers or TPCF. So we've done a lot of work to make that smaller. And then you can start with like 4 or 5 VMs. So that will give you that marketplace and that the routing and logic and everything like that. But then you can load the Gen AI tile, the Tanzu data services as well, and still make use of those either Bosch deployed or Tanzu AI server brokering to like private AI foundation or other things, and then consume that via TKGI, right? Because you can have off-platform access. So I think there's even unexpectedly, I guess it should be surprised, but that was another use case that when we're kind of dreaming of this like a year ago, that we didn't even think to consider that people would be interested in that as well.
Yeah,
So,
that brokerage and governance is getting a lot of nods when we're talking about it. That you can broker different models. You can set who wants what model, and put governance around it, logging metrics around it. You see the audience nodding, but okay, because it's still early days with Gen AI. It's scary days. I find it scary.
yeah, it's a little bit of wild west still. Yeah.
Yeah, and imagine, as always, you don't want to be the next headline on Hacker News. That company that exposed something to some model, and you want that security, that guardrails, and that would offer that. I think is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And what you were saying, Cloud Foundry, I had a customer there. When we were showing a Tanzu platform as well, the app to infrastructure, they're loving it. It's just, and as you raised, the multi-foundation, not just one. It's just making, like we've all had our days in support and firefighting. That'll make that so much easier. Like rather than the blame game going on.
Yeah, right.
And you can go, no, it's here, and this is talking to this, and it's on this. So, who owns server XYWT1 Osmo? I don't know. Like it's just
yeah. It's the mystery game to find out where this IP address is coming from, or what's causing this problem, right?
We're treating infrastructure as pets. They don't have friendly. We're treating infrastructure now as more cattle. Things don't have friendly names.
Right. Yeah.
So it's okay. Everyone they used Star Wars naming, or they used Disney characters or something.
Right.
So you got to learn the personalities of this bit of infrastructure. We're not that's going away. So that's why when you need this app to platform view, it really helps, because where's Pluto gone? I don't know, but that thing looks like where our trouble is now.
Yeah, that's a good example of these two communities hopefully coming together a lot more, is in both directions. Like there's at the application layer, developers have spent a lot of, I should say developers, the developer world have spent a lot of time figuring out how to do minute tracing of, like tracking flows of things and all of that kind of stuff. I shouldn't say we, but that community even came up with this new observability term, which has come to mean everything and nothing and et cetera. But, there's a whole body of thought around it. And so there's so much more information you can have from the application layer. And then even better, unlike when I was a developer, the application people think about instrumenting their application, because they've been trained to think about, I might have to diagnose this instead of someone else. And then so you've got that going on, and then kind of coming up from the infrastructure area. Of course, in the infrastructure world, you know how to do stuff, because that's the most popular session here. It's how to fix things when they break. And so hopefully those two disciplines and people will finally connect together more so than they have in the past, right? And I think, I don't know, thinking maybe a little too big industry wide. I think the kind of cloud native world has been sort of going divergent from traditional existing infrastructure. And I think maybe now the cloud native people, the joke someone made is first, I don't know if this is insulting, but I'll go ahead and do it.
Okay.
But
let's see what happens.
They're first, you go to, and this has been my lived experience. But you go to the DevOps conference, then the cloud native one, and first that speaker's hair is blue, and then they have a blue streak of hair, and then now they have a gray streak of hair, right? And so I think this community has kind of aged and become, as an aging person, become wiser. And kind of less excited about a bunch of planes spinning in the air. So maybe come to the relaxed just infrastructure admins and hook these things up together. And I think the AI stuff you're going over is another good example of that, where from the application development world, like what you described, the way that you can swap things out and that you do things to an API is just that's just the way developers think. Right, is that we always are going to have APIs that basically hide or are an abstraction of multiple different ways of implementing it. right? And then so as a developer, that's probably the most dangerous phrase ever in IT. But as a developer, I don't have to worry about the model that I'm using, or I don't have to worry about whatever's behind this. I forget my gang of four patterns, but this facade or this abstraction. And I think I don't get the impression that's always been the case in infrastructure land, that you kind of are obscuring how something is actually done. But whenever you're experimenting with something new like AI, that's the way that you want to do it, right? Those are your whatever you want to call it, your fire doors, your blast doors, your port. These are all things that involve death, so they're bad analogies. Yeah. But they're the seams that you have that allow you to experiment on one side and not really be dependent on the other side as it evolves and moves, which I think is a good way of doing all sorts of infrastructure as a developer.
Perfect. Well, I want to give a quick shout out. So Nikki's actually on stream. So he says he goes on vacation. Keith gets to join the show. It's no vacations ever again. And then he did mention Tanzu Data Services, and Tanzu platform for Cloud Foundry offers many possibilities for users. And then a shout out to our friend David Zinzian too for watching as well. So more friends of the pod. And Nikki, thanks for watching even though you're on vacation. So I look forward to getting back on live stream with you next week. He'll be at KubeCon, so we haven't figured that out yet, but we'll figure out how we're going to do that. Let's see here. So we probably need to do like a final question or final thoughts, because they're going to be kicking us out of this room any minute. So do you have any closing
That's the problem
thoughts?
with the Gray Street crew, is they stick to schedules.
Yes.
It's a little less dynamic.
Yeah. The benefit though, there's it's a quiet room and there's not the show floor noise.
Well, first of all, I think they have the internet at KubeCon. I haven't checked in, so you'll probably be able to stream.
Yeah. I might join remotely and we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
right?
You won't have to have. You remember courtrooms drawers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sketch artist.
Yes.
Anyhow, I interrupted you.
No, just your final thoughts or anything you'd like to share with the Cloud Foundry weekly community.
Yeah, I probably should have something to share, and I'm talking to think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is kind of a theme I always have, but like I think the Cloud Foundry community has for whatever reason, it's all good stuff, but they've figured out platform engineering for a long time, and almost to the state, to use the jokey term, and it's kind of boring to some extent, right? And so there's all sorts of people who, whatever you want to call them, platform engineers, platform owners, whatever, who've been running a platform as a service in large organizations. And so if you're trying to figure that out, you should just go talk to them. And they'll tell you about the people side, and obviously they'll tell you the only way to do it is with the Tanzu platform. All other things are like, why are you messing with that? It's just going to not work. But when it comes to the people part, there's a lot to learn from them. It's not you don't have to reinvent it. It's applicable easily.
Keith, any
I'm trying to think of. I think what I really like to see, what I've seen this week, and I think it's now clearer in the public because it's a big audience. You can always write a blog, but it's seen here on big stages. The more focused direction what we have now. I think we're a lot more focused, and also the Tanzu platform that has Cloud Foundry and Kubernetes runtime, the best of both. And Cloud Foundry is far from dead. We've showcased new innovations this week. Yeah. It's not all Kubernetes anymore. Kubernetes, of course, is still there. So is Cloud Foundry, and it's still getting new innovations as well. So I think it's
I'm very excited about that as well. So give a shout out to Nikki. He says, miss you guys in the audience. So we'll see you there next time here. But I think we should probably start wrapping up.
One more thing. This is one of the rare conferences where the snacks aren't just granola bars.
Oh yeah, the food is actually very good in here. Yes, it's not
lots of. I'm not sure if I agree with the kind of brie and jelly situation.
Yeah, I don't understand a lot of the food here.
But other than that, I think A+ on the tiny sandwiches, and it's a small enough sandwich that you don't feel bad about eating a sandwich. Well, you're really having a snack.
They kind of have it out the whole time too.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not like you can usually find a station to get a snack if you're in between.
Right. There's not a mad dash and you're like, I didn't want flavorless potato chips or crisps. I wanted something that was good.
Yes.
I suppose, did anyone get caught with what looked like cake but it was cheese?
No, I did not.
I like cheese.
Yeah.
I was going, my brain was going, that's not cake.
Yeah. It's a cake, right? I've seen that show, but yeah. Okay. Well, all right. Well, thank you all for watching. Tune in next week for live from KubeCon and remote or something of that nature that we're still figuring out. But thank you all. And then obviously don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel just to make sure you get notifications of what's next. But with that, we'll do a 3, 2, 1, CF bye, and then on the stream. All right. 3, 2, 1,
CF
bye.